If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Before we get started with today's video, I have an announcement to make. After years of telling other people's stories, I finally released one of my own. My novel Eternal Reign is available now in both ebook and paperback format for those of you who are like me and prefer to collect physical media. You can grab a copy right now on Amazon through the link in the description of this video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. It's a special day in Lumière, but special doesn't always mean good, so Gustav is dragging his feet to get to what he needs to do. Considering the fact that he doesn't exactly have all the time in the world to waste, Myel tells him to hurry up and go give Sophie her flowers before the sun sets and he misses his chance. Even though he hasn't spoken to her in years, she's happy to see him and talk to him while they walk to the docks. The entire town is headed there waiting for the paintress to change her number on her monolith and start the gommage. At the moment the number is 34, but when she drops it by 1 like she does every year, every single person whose age matches that number will disintegrate, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. Every year the people of Lumière hold a festival to give the people who are dying their send-off and to celebrate with the people who are joining the next expedition to the main continent, where they will try to find a way to the paintress so they can kill her and put an end to the cycle. Each expedition is usually made up of people who only have 1 year left to live, and they spend their last days mapping out the continent and getting that info back to their people so the next expedition can get even further. Gustav and a lot of his friends are going, which is to be expected even though the number of people volunteering has dropped each year. But the one oddity is Myel. She's only 16 and is Gustav's ward, so he really doesn't want her to throw her life away like that. She doesn't really care all that much since he's pretty much the only person who cares about her at all. There's no talking her out of it, so after saying his goodbyes to his sister, who isn't exactly all that friendly or supportive of his decision to go on a suicide mission, Expedition 33 sets off to the main continent to hunt for the paintress. They make it to the main continent without any problems, but once they land, things get weird. They come face to face with a man who's way too old to be alive. The expedition's leader tries to talk to him and is killed so fast that no one has a chance to react. Then the monsters attack and people start to die. They have a place that they're all supposed to meet up at if they get separated, but the attack is so brutal that Gustav is knocked unconscious after seeing a lot of his friends die. When he wakes up, he's surprised that he's not dead, but there's no one alive around him, so he sets off to get to the rally point where he hopes to find someone else. The path isn't exactly clear and he has to fight some Nevrons, which are creatures made by the paintress, on his way. But when he's not being snuck in the dark, he can hold his own well enough. He knows that the others can fight just as well as he can, so they may have a chance to still be alive. That hope disappears when he sees that just about all of the people he came with have been stacked into a pile and are very much dead. The sight nearly makes him take himself out, but Lune, another member of his crew, survived and she stops him. The expedition had a motto: when one falls, we continue. That's easy to say until people start dying, and Gustav is having a really hard time moving forward. Lune manages to get him to stop moping for long enough to help her deal with a large Nevron that tries to kill them, which lets them test out the Lumina converter that Gustav made. Once it proves that it can absorb the essence of the Nevrons, she starts to feel a little bit more confident about their chances of stopping the paintress. Gustav is still moving on autopilot, but they do head off to the Indigo Tree rendezvous point. On the way there, they find the corpses of the members of Expedition 81 next to a weird Nevron that not only doesn't attack them, but it can talk, adding to the things that none of the people from Lumière understand about the very strange world. Lucky for them, the other expeditions that came before kept everything that they learned in journals for their successors to find, so hopefully collecting all of their journals will shed a little bit of light on what's going on and will explain why the people who die on the main continent don't disappear when they're killed by Nevrons. They don't get any information out of the weird Nevron other than the fact that it was made by the paintress, so they move on. When they get to the rendezvous point, they find a survivor right before he gets murdered by a really big monster. Gustav and Lune take it down and climb to the top of the tree to wait for the others. Someone left a message saying that they took Myel to a place called the Weird Corals to the north. Gustav is excited since she was the main person that he was worried about, but Lune is a bit suspicious since the message wasn't signed, and if it was written by one of their people, they would have known to do that. Gustav doesn't care if it's a trap or not, especially since the guy who attacked them on the beach doesn't have to set traps since he can kill them with no effort if he finds them. He's going to go find Myel whether Lune comes or not, and since one of their rules is to never travel alone, she goes with him. While Gustav wants to make the trip as fast as possible, traveling at night is a good way to die, so the two of them decide to set up camp and get back to looking for Myel when the sun comes up. That little break gives them the time they need to think about the oddest part about the man that attacked them. He had to be in his 50s, which should be impossible, but somehow he survived the Gamage. Between his insane power and the loss of their entire expedition in a matter of minutes, Gustav is ready to give up on the entire thing, find Myel, and go home. Not because he's scared for himself, but he's worried about Myel. The girl is practically his daughter, so Lumière gets it, but no one forced her to come, and no one will be able to force her to leave either since she wants to stop the paintress too. Once she gets that through Gustav's head, the two of them call it a night and head to the reef early the next day. The place isn't all that hard to find, and neither is the hut that the message led them to. The place seems harmless enough, but when they open the door, they're sucked into a very large and extremely out-of-place mansion. Most of the doors are locked, but the two of them actually find Myel alive and unharmed. She's not sure how she got there. Everything is hazy after what happened on the beach, but she woke up in the manor with a weird faceless Nevron watching over her. He doesn't really talk all that much, so she doesn't know much about him, but the chroma around his body is a lot different from the Nevrons that Lumière has seen before. He helped Myel, so that's all that matters to Gustav, and he doesn't try to stop them from leaving the manor. He even decides to start hanging out at the group's camp, just in case Myel needs him for something. That thing is not the only odd creature that Myel found during her time away from the expedition either. Noko, a Gestral merchant, has been keeping her company, but the member of the very old living puppet race is odd, slightly stupid, and addicted to fighting, so he won't help Gustav or Lumière until they prove that they know how to throw a punch. Lumière has heard about the legendary creatures, and she's way more excited about meeting one of them than she's been about anything else, especially when she hears that there's a whole village of them not that far away. Granted, they have a mission, so they don't exactly have time for a detour. Fortunately for her, Noko points out that they don't have a clue about how to get across the sea that's between where they are and the paintress, but Golgra, the leader of their village, knows. He tells them how to get there, but he's not going to take them there since it'll be more fun watching them try to make it through the maze. So with a new objective in mind, the remaining members of Expedition 33 head to the Gestral village to find a way to the paintress so they can hopefully keep anyone else from dying. On the way to the Gestral village, Gustav and the others come across a flower that looks exactly like the one that Gustav gave to Sophie. As soon as he touches it, the Nevron who had been hanging around the area attacks them. They beat it, but when Lumière realizes that the thing only attacked them because they touched his stuff, she stops Gustav from killing it. Their goal is to figure things out about the place, not just kill everything that moves, even if it was made by the paintress. Something about the thing seems familiar to Myel, but it runs away before she can touch it, so they keep moving toward the village. They know they're getting close to the village when they see a lot of dead Nevrons scattered all over the place. The things had gotten too close to the Gestrals' guards. Unfortunately, those guards are idiots and they attack the expedition even though they can clearly see that they are not monsters, so Gustav and the others break the giant Gestral guard that turns out to be a much smaller Gestral riding inside of a big puppet mech suit. The guard suit was supposed to be unbeatable according to Karatum, but it obviously did not live up to its reputation. Once he finds out that they were sent by Noko, he assumes very wrongly that they were sent to help them test out their weapons so they can upgrade them. He agrees to guide them to the village with a little convincing, but he doesn't tell the guards not to attack since he wants to use the expedition to test out their strongest weapon. When they break it too, that convinces Karatum that Golgra, the leader of their people and their strongest fighter by far, would like to meet these newcomers, so he takes them directly to the village. Beating their guardian made Golgra have enough respect for the group to speak to them personally, and she's not surprised that they are trying to get to the paintress since every one of the human expeditions that have passed through the area have been doing the same thing. She is surprised that they don't have a boat though, but she gets very impressed when they tell her how the old man attacked them and they survived. That same man had attacked their village before, so she's seen how powerful he is firsthand. Since they don't have a boat, Golgra says that their best chance of getting to the paintress is a creature called Esquier. He should be willing to help the expedition if they ask nicely. That's something that Lumière is more than happy to do since she's heard about Esquier and she wants to meet him too. He doesn't live too far away from the village, but only the greatest warriors are allowed to know the password to get there. Esquier is very friendly, but he doesn't realize just how strong he is, so he might kill a weak person by accident. Beating the Gestrals' guard isn't enough proof that the expedition is strong enough to survive the encounter, so Golgra forces them to compete in her tournament to prove themselves. If they can beat the current champion, they'll get the password. The Gestrals that they fight aren't all that strong, but it turns out that their champion is Ciel, another survivor of Expedition 33. She's very happy to see that the others survived, but that doesn't stop her from trying to keep her spot as the champion. Once the fight's over, she tells the others how she ended up there after the massacre on the beach. She had ran to a weird yellow forest and a Gestral simply took her there. It's not all that fascinating of a story, but since they completed the task, they go back to Golgra, who tells them that the password is "get out of my way." Because the Gestrals are weird, part of the password is shouting it as loud as they can at the guard, so the expedition sets off to do just that. The crew decides to camp before they make the trip to Esquier, and during their break, time seems to stop for everyone but Myel, and a weird white-haired woman with a burned face shows up. She looks like she wants to say something to Myel, but the older man who murdered the entire expedition appears and tells Alicia to go back home. She's really upset about Myel for some reason, and the man understands since according to him, everything that's going wrong is Myel's fault, and she doesn't even know it. She really wants to know why he said that, but he tells her to take her friends back to Lumière so they can live their last year in peace, because the next time he sees them, he's gonna kill them. Myel tries to stab him, but the world shifts back to normal, putting her back in the camp. None of the others saw anything, but the whole thing freaked her out so much that she can't really answer any of their questions, so they just add that to the list of things that they have to worry about later and they go to sleep. When they get to the guard outside of Esquier's place, it turns out that Golgar never even told him the password, so he pretty much would have let them in no matter what they said. She just wanted to make someone yell at him because Gestrals are strange. Esquier is a very weird, very large, overly cheerful giant creature who comes flying in by flapping his arms. Something that really shouldn't work, but it does because the world is a strange place. He's apparently seen Ciel before since he knows that she can't swim, but she is positive that she would have remembered seeing him if they had actually met. He's willing to help the expedition cross the sea, but he says he needs a special rock called Flory to do it. Somehow the rock helps him swim, but it's been stolen by his arch nemesis Francois. Seeing as how Francois is his neighbor, it will be a 30-second walk to get the thing. So Gustave and the others go talk to Francois, who turns out to be a turtle who does not like people on his property. If they want him to hand over the rock, they'll have to fight him for it. They do just that, but in the middle of the fight, the turtle gets tired and just hands the rock over so he can go to sleep. It turns out that Francois didn't have Esquier's rock, and it's still out in the Stone Wave Cliffs. Esquier still needs it if he's going to help them, so they agree to go to the Stone Wave Cliffs to get it, even though it's a good distance away. To prove just how powerful he is, a giant Nevron appears in front of Esquier and he one-shots it, all while claiming that getting the rock himself is too much effort, so the expedition makes their way through the cliffs until they get to the place where he senses his rock. He also feels something very dangerous in the area, which turns out to be a very creepy lamp-holding Nevron that tries very hard to stop the expedition from moving forward. They kill the thing and retrieve the rock, giving Esquier the ability to act as the crew's boat. Lune and Ciel board their new living ship, but before Myel and Gustave can make it, the old man attacks them. Gustave shields Myel and faces the man alone, which ends exactly how you might expect, with Myel being forced to watch him die. The old man goes to kill her too, but another man who looks like Gustave's much cooler older brother steps in to save her. He and the older man know each other very well, and from the way he doesn't fight him after he lets Myel escape, it makes it clear that this mystery man isn't somebody to be taken lightly. The entire crew takes Gustave's death hard, but Myel takes it the hardest for obvious reasons. Lune is pretty sure that their mission is a bust, so she just wants to prepare things for the next expedition since the Lumina converter was lost with Gustave. However, their mission takes a slightly brighter turn when the man who saved Myel shows up with Gustave's robot arm and tells them the fastest way to get to the monolith. Ciel wants to know where he got his expedition uniform from since he was not a part of their mission. It turns out that he was from Expedition 0, the very first one that happened 67 years ago. He should be both dead and old, but according to him, something odd happened to some of the first expeditioners and they just stopped aging altogether, which also made them immune to the gommage. He doesn't know how, but both he and Renoir, the man who's been causing Expedition 33 so many problems, became immortal. Renoir thinks his immortality is a gift from the Paintress, so he does whatever he can to protect her from the expeditioners. Verso's gotten tired of burying his friends, and he wants to kill the Paintress so he can finally be free, which means he wants to join Expedition 33. Myel doesn't care as long as she gets to kill Renoir for taking out Gustave, and if killing the Paintress has to come first, she'll take all of the help that she can get. This concludes the story of Act 1 of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, comment, share it, and subscribe. Grab a copy of my novel on your way out, and I'll see you all next time.